What's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. Hope everyone is having a good day, enjoying some college football or whatever you got going on. Going to be stressing over this OU Texas game for the rest of the afternoon, of course, because OSU always has to make it difficult on me, man. 5-0, playing Texas today. It should be a blowout, honestly, in the favor of Texas, but nice little pick six there at the end of the second quarter, and we got a little field goal. So, man, we're really excited. We almost won a big one last week for Thrive Fantasy, and I will go over that here in a second. I'm sorry, I was just sharing out some stuff. So, my name is Kyle. Welcome to the Slate, a Gridiron Ratings production. We're going to be going over Thrive Fantasy and some of the prop bets and player prop contests for this week. You can follow me on Twitter at Fantasy Reserve. You can follow the channel at Gridiron Ratings. And you're more than welcome to DM me about any questions for your fantasy leagues or contests. I'm always around to help answer questions. So last week we got really close. $20 contest. We ended up cashing for $75. We hit 8 of our 10 props. It would have been 9 of 10, and we probably would have hit at least $800. It projected that we would have got second had Trevor Lawrence, instead of rushing that touchdown, if he would have thrown it, or if they wouldn't have got stopped on the fourth and goal earlier in that game. We took the prop of over 1.5 passing touchdowns, and unfortunately did not get it. But like I said, we got second, or we got 8 of the 10. So we made a decent profit. $75 on a $20 bet is good, but we're trying to take down that first place, that $10,000. So we're going to go over the props for this week. And there are some pretty good ones. I actually, it wasn't too difficult for me to go over the ones that I actually liked for the week. So we will see if we can hit the big one. First prop coming up is Aaron Rodgers, 272.5 passing yards. The over is favored. They are at Chicago. I'm just not going to choose this one. 272 is actually really close for me. I'm going to go ahead and just avoid this one because there's some other ones that I do like. If I had to choose, I would probably choose the over. Chicago has a pretty good defense. They've done well against stopping the run. I don't know how well their offense is going to move. Chicago's is against Green Bay. Justin Fields, he's kind of 50-50 at the moment. But I do like Justin Fields' outlook, but we'll have a real good contest this week against Green Bay. Joe Mixon is a full go this week. They are playing at Detroit. I think the prop of 61.5 rushing yards, I'm going to take the over on that. The over is actually not favored. It's 110 points. So I'm going to go ahead and take that one. If you look at what he's done throughout the season when he was healthy, the first few weeks, he had 127, 69, 90, 67, and then obviously he had 33 against Green Bay. Didn't finish that game. So I'm going to go ahead and take the over. If he is healthy, which I believe he is, that should be a pretty easy 110 points. Get that extra couple points on top of that one. The next one, Cooper Kupp. I'm going to take the over on this one, 87.5 receiving yards. It's a 50-50 split of 100-100. They're playing at New York Giants. I think this team just likes to move the ball through the air. Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel are going to be, chopping it up in the backfield. But nothing has told me now that Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp is going to slow down. Even when Robert Woods had his massive breakout game a while back, Cooper Kupp still had like 93 receiving yards. So I think he's going to be fine. 87.5 total yards. I'm cool with that. And then we'll take the over for 100. The next one, which you can also take the over, I didn't take it for myself, but it's Matthew Stafford, 23.5 total completions. The over is favored for only 85 points. So I'm avoiding this one. Just not enough points for me to want to try to put that in my lineup, although I do believe that he will hit the over on that. So we're going to go to some of these other ones that I believe are going to help get us those extra points to try to hit that 1,000-point mark. Another one that I'm avoiding, Tyreek Hill, over 8.5 receptions. Tyreek Hill's just, he had that little 2-week span where he was really inconsistent, and then he has massive blow-up games. And I think people are just doubting the Chiefs. I think they're going to win. I still think they're going to win 10-plus games this year, and I'm not too worried about it. But, he's only passed that twice this year, and it was on massive blow-up games where he had 11 receptions. I'm just going to avoid this one altogether. Again, 115 points for the over. If I had to pick one, I'm probably going to take the over because I think it's worth the points because we've seen him do it twice. But just, again, not going to do that. Patrick Mahomes, I'm taking the over on this one. 2.5 total passing touchdowns. It's a 50-50 split for the over-under. They're at Washington. Defense hasn't been very good. Again, Patrick Mahomes has been hearing all this chatter about how they're done, they're never going to have this dynasty or start this dynasty of going to Super Bowls. And, the defense has just been struggling. They just lost Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think they're going to have to throw the ball quite a bit. And Washington football team's offense is actually not too bad. They got some talented playmakers up there. I think they can make this a nice ball game. And so I'm definitely going to be taking the over on that. Carson Wentz, half an interception. I'm taking the under. It's 125 points for the under. They're playing at home against Houston, where Jonathan Taylor should hopefully see like 20 touches this week. I am praying that he is, because we've seen what he can do with the ball in his hands. Again, Houston has not been able to stop anybody, really. They've been competitive in a lot of games this year, but Carson Wentz, I don't like to trust him for my points, but at 125 points, just take the under on half an interception. Interceptions can be a little fluky. Looking at his stats from his games this year, didn't throw any last week against Baltimore, where he threw for 402 yards. So you got to love that. Didn't throw any against Miami, who has a pretty decent secondary. Didn't throw any against Tennessee, whose defense sucks, but still didn't throw any. And then had one against the Rams, who has a very good defense and a good secondary. And then didn't throw any against Seattle, who obviously has some pretty good safeties back there. So half an interception, take the under for the 125 points, and just hope that they run the ball a ton and he doesn't have to make any mistakes. Avoiding this one, it was really between the next two, where we have Jonathan Taylor and Justin Jefferson over half a touchdown. I think, again, Jonathan Taylor should score this week, so the over is 85 points. I'm just going to avoid that. That's not quite enough. If it was at 95, I would definitely be taking the over. But at 85 points, again, it's just not enough for me to justify for the point swing. Again, I'm going to try to go for the over on Justin Jefferson, where it's 115 points. I know that sounds counterintuitive, where it's like, hey, like it's a 30-point swing. So I'm going to be willing to take the risk on Justin Jefferson, who has had 3 touchdowns this year. He's the number one wide receiver in this offense. And for 115 points, that's going to help us boost up over that 1,000-point mark for this contest. So I'm going to take the over on him. This next one's pretty easy. Lamar Jackson over 292.5 total yards. It feels kind of like Vegas trappy, like why is the under favored on Lamar Jackson under 292 total yards? Not just passing, but like total. So I'm taking the over. Seems like a pretty easy play, and you're actually getting the extra 5 points. This one will probably be utilized a lot. So if somebody picks the under and it actually hits, they're probably going to get a pretty good swing out of it. Again, same game. Austin Eckler, 99.5 total yards, rushing and receiving. I'm taking the over. It's a 50-50 split. I'm guessing the odds makers think this is going to be a pretty solid game with a lot of defense, where they're trying to entice people to take the under, but I'm not going to do that. I'll take the over on that. We'll come back to this one. Mike Williams, 84.5 total yards receiving. The over is not favored. The under is actually favored for 80 points. And if you look at what he's done for these first few weeks, 168 and then 11 against Vegas, where I feel like that was a weird game, 122, 91, and 82. I'm going to go ahead and insert the over on this. We're going to go through some of the other ones. So far, we have 8 of 10, and we still have a ton of player prop bets left, but it's a little risky at that point. It's 120 points, but this could easily be a Keenan Allen game, and Mike Williams has very overperformed a lot. I feel like if Keenan Allen and Mike Williams swapped stats, and Mike Williams was here on this player prop, it would be like 64.5. It's just, I think the hot start has really swayed the odds makers, but I think he's going to come back to earth here pretty soon. Avoiding this one, but it's DJ Moore, 6.5 receptions. It feels like, hey, that's quite a bit. The under is not favored. The over is actually favored. So you could take the under here for 105 points, but I'm avoiding this one. I'm just not going to take the chance on it. Let's see. Next one here, we have Baker Mayfield, 2.5 total touchdowns and interceptions, and the over is favored because Chubb is not there. Hunt is going to be hurt, and Hunt is actually, more of the pass catcher, so they're going to be utilizing him a lot. I think Baker's probably going to see over 40 total pass attempts against Arizona. They're going to try to control the clock against Arizona, who's not going to have their coaching staff, so I expect Arizona to make some mistakes, and I think Cleveland's going to actually win this game at home, and it's going to be a real statement win for them this year. They've played a lot of tough competition, but they're a very good football team. So I'm going to avoid this one, but I would consider the under for 120 points. Amari Cooper, 50-50 split, half a receiving touchdown. I'm avoiding this one as well. Derek Carr, 283.5 total passing yards against Denver. I'm taking the over, which is not favored. I think they had that slow start, and then of course, they have all this thing, but they're going to be coming back. They're going to want to have to rally off this John Gruden news. And Denver has a pretty good total defense, but their run stopping defense is pretty solid. So I think they're going to have to pass a lot. Denver's offense is back again with Teddy Bridgewater. I think Denver wins this game, but I think the offense moves a little bit better. They play well against the pass. The Raiders defense does. But I think this is going to be a Javonte week, which is like half of Twitter expecting it. I mean, it has to come eventually. But I think him and Melvin Gordon are both going to be very solid picks this week, which is why I'm also taking the over on Melvin Gordon, kind of like playing the props against each other. He's a 50-50 split for 100 for 51.5 rushing yards. So I'm going to take the over on both of those. And then last here is Najee Harris. I'm taking the over for the safe 90 points at 80.5 total rushing and receiving yards. They're playing Seattle, who has no offense at this point. Russell Wilson's out. Chris Carson's out. Seattle's defense, I think, can be beat on the ground. But even if they're going to be attacked through the air, Big Ben gave that guy like 19 targets the other week. So feeling pretty good about that. And then last but not least, we have DK Metcalf. This is just like one of those flyers, over 1.5 receiving touchdowns. I think he's going to have a fantastic week, which is actually, considering this, he is the true wide receiver one in this offense. I think when Russell Wilson went out and Geno came in and Geno's looking at first reads in this offense, it goes through DK Metcalf, because we saw at the end of that game where DK Metcalf was like getting like 4 or 5 targets to end the second half there. And I think it just kind of proves to Russell Wilson reading progressions and how much he likes utilizing Tyler Lockett, which is why he had such a hot start. But I'm going to avoid that one. But the over is 130 points. So, I mean, it's worth taking a swing. We're already at 960 points here. So if we didn't want to do like the Najee Harris one, or if we didn't want to do the like Derek Carr one, we could do the over on Najee Harris and do 130 points, 1,075. That would be that'd be a big win. If you look at who won, going through my history real quick of last week, like I said, we had 780 points. That 120 point swing, I don't know how many in front of me had the Trevor Lawrence thing, but that would have gave us 900 points, and that would have been first place. But if you look at what we've got for this week, 960 is what we had before we chose Najee Harris. So if 9 of our 10 hit, that's going to be 960. That would have taken down first place for 10 grand last week. So I feel very confident about these picks. Again, super excited. I think there's an opportunity here where we're getting really, really close. So again, I chose the Joe Mixon, Patrick Mahomes, Carson Wentz, Justin Jefferson, Lamar Jackson, Austin Eckler, Derek Carr, Melvin Gordon, Najee Harris, and Cooper Kupp for my picks. And like I said, you can go back in the video and check if I chose those over-unders. Looking at some of these house props entries, some decent ones. I'm actually, there's the reason I like Thrive so much is they offer a ton of player props. They have basically three apiece for every single game. Some that I'm looking at that I think is going to be good here. You look at Aaron Rodgers, the over-under on this is 263 passing yards. So it's actually down from earlier. So I'm going to take the over on 263. It's down a whole 9 yards, which plenty of times I've lost this year within 2 or 3 yards on some of these player props. So I'm going to take the over on 263.5 passing yards for Aaron Rodgers. Going through, look at some of these others. Carson Wentz, 248. We have Jonathan Taylor, 81.5. I really want to take the over on Jonathan Taylor, over 81.5 rushing yards against Houston, but I just don't trust this offense at all. So I'm, again, kind of avoiding some of these. Looking through, we have a couple more. Again, Cooper Kupp, if you think he's going to have a good game, which I think he does, 84.5 total receiving yards. Take the over on that. Jamar Chase, over 75.5 receiving yards against Detroit. Detroit is going to be competitive in this game. They've been competitive every single week, so it's going to force them to throw. I think there's going to be a lot of offense in this game. Looking at Austin Eckler, 58.5 rushing yards again there. And then someone like Mike Williams, 70.5 receiving yards. We can do that. So when we do these, it's 11 extra money for 4 props. So you put in $20, there's some opportunity to win $220 there. So thank you guys for joining me this week. And hopefully, we can hit these props and try to win us some money. Hopefully everybody has a good Saturday. And like I said, follow me on Twitter at Fantasy Reserve. Use promo code GR2021 when you sign up for Thrive Fantasy. They'll give you a 100% deposit. Thanks, guys.